You ever see somebody's whole life unravel right in front of strangers? I'll never forget the sound that night. The beep of the card machine, sharp and merciless 3 times in a row. Declined. That word didn't just show up on a little screen, it echoed through the whole mart like a siren calling out someone's shame. The cashier, a woman with a tight bun and a smirk she'd clearly practiced in the mirror, leaned over the counter and said, "Honey, declined means declined. You don't have the money." And she said it loud enough for everyone in line to hear. Folks started shifting their carts, sighing, whispering. It was like the crowd had been waiting for a show and I was the entertainment. I froze. My hands shook as I reached for the groceries, trying to decide what to put back. First the cookies I'd promised my kids, then the bananas. Little things that meant joy in their world. The woman behind me chuckled, not cruel like the cashier, more like she was relieved it wasn't her. Still, every laugh cut deeper. My throat tightened, but no tears came. I couldn't give them that. What none of us noticed right away was the man in the line behind me. Navy wool coat, polished shoes, wristwatch that could have covered my rent for 6 months. He looked like he didn't belong in a grocery store at all, but there he was, watching. And what he did next flipped my entire life upside down. But before I tell you that, you need to know how I even ended up there. That morning, I'd pressed my forehead against a cracked bathroom mirror, tracing the dark circles under my eyes. 32 years old, but I looked closer to 40. My twins Jordan and Jada padded in their pajamas, too short at the ankles, holding on to each other like they always did. "Mama, can we have pancakes?" Jada asked, bright-eyed, hopeful. I smiled even though my chest ached. All I had was a half-empty cereal box and milk that was 1 day past expiration. I poured it anyway, added a little extra milk to make it seem like more. They didn't complain. They never did. I kissed them at the bus stop and stood there long after the bus pulled away, counting the cash in my wallet. $46 and change. My electric bill alone was $68 due that night. And my manager had just texted me double shift at the diner. No choice if I wanted tips. That was my life, constantly doing math, constantly choosing between bills and food, between surviving and letting the kids feel like kids for just 1 day. Across town, in a glass tower overlooking the river, Nathan Cole was staring at a city he owned piece by piece. CEO of a tech empire, mid-40s, salt and pepper hair, the kind of man Forbes liked to put on their lists. But behind those steel gray eyes was nothing but silence. He had the money, the power, the skyscraper corner office, yet every night he ate alone. His wife had died 3 years back, his little girl before that. He hadn't laughed, not really laughed in all that time. He lived efficient, cold, mechanical, until that night. By the time I dragged myself through an endless dinner shift, my feet swollen in sneakers with holes at the seams, I'd scraped together $62 in tips, enough for groceries and maybe to keep the lights on. I should have gone to the discount market like usual. But I wanted just once to give my kids something their classmates had, a real lunch kit, the kind with crackers, cheese, and a tiny cookie. $8 for 2 tiny boxes. My brain screamed no, but my heart whispered yes. I put them in the cart. That's how I ended up at that checkout line. That's how I ended up under those harsh lights with Brenda the cashier making a spectacle out of me. When the machine beep declined, I swear it was like the floor dropped out. My hands shook as I reached for the lunch kits first, because of course you sacrifice the joy before the necessities. That's when the man behind me moved. He bent down, picked up a 20 that I swear hadn't been there before, and said in a voice that was calm but commanding, "Excuse me, ma'am. I think you dropped this." I blinked at him. He was holding out $60, 3 20s folded together like they'd always been one. My chest tightened. "That's not mine," I whispered. He looked me dead in the eye, soft but firm. "It was right at your feet. Must have fallen out of your purse. Happens all the time." Brenda rolled her eyes. How convenient. But something about the way he stared her down made her step back. "Is there a problem with a customer picking up her own money?" he asked, calm as ever, but with steel underneath. Suddenly, Brenda had no more jokes. My fingers trembled as I took the bills. I knew it wasn't mine. He knew it wasn't mine. But he was offering me a way out, that didn't strip the last shred of dignity I had left. I paid, gathered my bags, whispered, "Thank you." He smiled almost sad. "You don't owe me anything," but I couldn't let it go. "At least let me buy you a coffee," I said. We ended up at a diner across the street, the kind with red vinyl booths and waitresses who call you honey. Over steaming mugs we talked, or rather, he listened. About my husband who died in a factory accident, about raising twins on tips and prayers, about the fear that never left my chest. And then he told me his truth about a wife named Elena, a daughter named Sophie, and how both had slipped away from cancer and leukemia until all he had left was work and silence. I laughed bitterly, thinking men like him just wanted to rescue women like me for sport. "I'm not looking for a sugar daddy," I said flat. He shook his head, voice low. "I didn't help you to save you. I helped you because I wanted to feel human again." For a second I saw the man behind the wealth, the broken father, the grieving husband. It scared me how much of myself I recognized in him. That night should have ended at the diner, but his car broke down outside my apartment, alarm blaring like a wounded animal. I let him come upstairs while we waited on a tow truck that never came. My kids barreled out of their room wide-eyed at the stranger. And before I knew it, this billionaire CEO was sitting on our couch reading bedtime stories, making my daughter giggle, making my son, always so serious, ask questions like kids are supposed to. For the first time in 2 years, I let myself breathe. For the first time, I wasn't alone in carrying the weight. But life has a cruel sense of timing. By morning, some stranger's shaky cell phone video of him handing me that money had gone viral. The headline screamed, "Billionaire CEO saves struggling mom." They didn't see the dignity in what he did. They saw charity. They plastered my name, my address, my job at the diner. Reporters stalked my kids outside school, asked my daughter if she was grateful to the nice man. My son clenched his fists, told them to leave us alone. I'd never been so humiliated in my life. I thought he'd set me up. Thought I'd been nothing more than a photo op. I blocked his calls, ignored his texts. But he didn't stop. He hired lawyers, filed papers, forced news stations to retract the story. He showed up at my door, not with flowers, not with diamonds, but with ice cream for the kids and legal documents to make the reporters back off. And for the first time, I believed him. We sat at my kitchen table, the same one piled with unpaid bills, and he said words that cracked something open inside me. "I'm not offering you charity, Camille. I'm offering you a partnership. Let's build something real, a foundation that actually helps people the right way. I want you to run it." I laughed through tears. "Me. I don't have degrees or experience." He shook his head. "You have something better. Heart. Integrity. You know what people need without losing their pride." That night, under the flicker of my old kitchen light, Nathan Cole looked me in the eye and said, "I love you." It wasn't polished. It wasn't rehearsed. It was raw, trembling, terrified, and real. And I said it back. Because somehow in the chaos of a declined card and a broken-down car, love had found its way back into my life. 18 months later, we stood in that same Walmart aisle where it all began, this time with our twins, holding his hands, calling him Dad. The foundation had helped hundreds of families. He'd stepped back from the spotlight. And me, I wasn't the woman begging a machine to approve $12. I was a woman with purpose, with love, with hope. But here's the thing. Was it right that it took a billionaire's help to restore my dignity? Was it fair that the world only noticed my struggle when money was involved? Some folks said I got lucky. Others said I sold out. Me. I just know that sometimes kindness comes from unexpected places, and sometimes it's the only thing standing between you and the edge. So tell me, if you'd been in that grocery store, what would you have done? Would you have stepped in or walked away like everyone else? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to know. Do you believe dignity can survive poverty, or does society make sure it can't? And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that'll make you question the world we live in.